Hello friends, welcome to the Standardization World channel. My name is Bolata Bayole and I'm going to open to you all the secrets of the technical regulation and standardization. If you live in any country with the market economy, in any capitalistic country, and you know anything, at least anything about the technical regulation and standardization system, didn't you ever think about why in your country you actually have the two-level technical regulation system? Because you have it in your country, where the first level is the safety requirements, which are contained usually in the technical regulations or any mandatory standards, or maybe if it is the European Union, so you have the European Union directives and European Union regulations. And the second level is the quality, and the quality requirements are usually contained in the voluntary standards. Why do you have such a system, not another one? And for example, if you are from any socialistic or communistic country where there is no market affairs, in your country you should have one level technical regulation system, or maybe you shouldn't have the technical regulation system at all, only the standardization system. So in your country maybe you don't have any technical regulations and you don't have voluntary standards, only mandatory standards. So why is that? Why the things go exactly in this way, not otherwise? And the thing is that the technical regulation and standardization system fully connected to the economical system of the country. So if it is the market economy, the capitalistic country, so there would be the two-level technical regulation system. There would be the mandatory requirements and the voluntary requirements. Let's take a look to the socialistic system. For today, I actually cannot give you the proper example of the socialistic country with no market economy. For example, very good example would be the China. China is like very communistic, very socialistic country, but in the economical system they have the market affairs. They have the competition, they have many different suppliers in that. There was very good example of the socialistic country with no market affairs but with the planned economy, which is the Union of the Soviet Socialistic Republics, the USSR, the Soviet Union. And in Soviet Union everything has been owned by the government. So government had everything. I mean all the industry, all the shops, all the markets, all the things that can supply anything in the market, I mean the products and the services. And they had no any competition. The government was the only supplier in the market, in the Soviet market. So in this case, in the Soviet Union, they had only two players in the market, which are the government and the consumers, all the people who are actually consumers. The economical system has two main key elements, which are the demand and the supply. And in Soviet Union they had only two main players, the government, which creates the supply, and all the people, the consumers, who creates the demand. But in this system, in such economical system, the government do not need to compete to itself. The government is actually the monopolist in the market, the fully 100% monopolist, because it owns everything. And the consumer do not have any other choice but to consume all the products and goods that are provided by the government, by the governmental structures, governmental companies, governmental shops, and so on. And that's why, in this case, the government creates the requirements for itself, the only mandatory safety requirements for the products and services. The government do not need to compete to itself. That's why the government do not need to increase the quality of the products and services. And that's why in the Soviet system there were no any technical regulations and there were no voluntary standards. As we know from the past videos that the voluntary standards usually contains the quality requirements for the products and goods, and the technical regulations contains the mandatory safety requirements. But in the case of the Soviet Union, they had no any technical regulations, they had no any voluntary standards, they had only the mandatory standards. Mandatory standards which were designated as GOSTs. So in Soviet Union they had about 20,000 different GOSTs and all those GOSTs were mandatory. The GOST was on the same level with all the laws and regulations in the country. But in case of the market economy, there are actually three players in the market. So the first one is of course the government, then the business, the suppliers and the consumers. The government's role is very simple. The government controls that all the suppliers meet the minimum safety requirements of the country for the products and services and the processing and so on. The business, of course, the business, the entrepreneurs, they meet the minimum requirements of the country, and also to take the advantage for their opponents or to overrun them somehow, they should increase the quality of their products and services. And to increase it, the business, the entrepreneurs, they need voluntary standards with the quality requirements. And the third player, of course, is a consumer. There is also a consumer who consumes, who creates the demand for the goods and services. And business, the entrepreneurs, for example, let's say there are many different companies who produces, let's say, bread. And one of the companies would like to take the advantage of its opponents and would like to increase the quality of its bread and would like to engage more consumers to buy, to consume its bread. So the company finds another standard, another voluntary standard. For example, they used before the national standard, their own national standard for the bread. But in order to increase the quality of the produced bread, they found some international standard, or maybe any foreign standard, or maybe they developed their own enterprise standard for themselves. But the thing is, the main point is that the new standard has the bigger, the higher requirements, the higher quality requirements for the bread than the previous standard. And after the company finds that new standard or develops that new standard for itself, the company implements the new standard, and after implementation of it, the bread of this exact company would be better than the bread that are provided by all other organizations, by all other companies, by all other suppliers. Let's say in this case the quality of the bread will be higher from others and the price is the same. So in this case all the consumers would go and buy from that certain company. And this is what we call the competition. The business, the entrepreneurs, the suppliers must compete to each other. This is the rules of the market economy. That's why the business, the entrepreneurs in the country with the market economy need the voluntary standard which are contain the quality requirements. So in the market economy there are two-leveled technical regulation system. The first level is the mandatory safety requirements, which are usually contained in technical regulations, mandatory standards and all other different regulations. Depends on the technical regulation system in the country, in the exact particular country. The second level is the quality requirements, which are usually contained in voluntary standards. And if, for example, there is only one single technical regulation or one single mandatory standard for the bread with the minimum safety requirements for the bread, and all the suppliers must meet these requirements these mandatory requirements. And for the quality requirements, there are plenty different standards. They can use any standard they would like to. They can use any national standard, or maybe international standard, or maybe any other foreign standard, or maybe any other enterprise standard to increase the quality of their products and services. So when we speak about the safety requirement, the mandatory safety requirements, the business has its limits. But in the case of the quality requirements, the business do not have any limit. They can increase it in any level they would like to, or any level they think would be enough to engage more consumers. So this is why the countries with the market economy usually have the two-level technical regulation system: safety, quality. And the socialistic countries with no market economy, with only like the planned economy or anything like this, such countries have only one level technical regulation or standardization system, with only the mandatory requirements, with no voluntary requirements, of course. I hope this video was useful to you. You found something new and interesting for yourself about the technical regulation and standardization system. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comments. And also, I would like you to write down what was interesting to you and what was not, what was actually useful to you and what was not, and leave some questions about the technical regulation, standardization and conformity assessment system, and in my future videos I will try to answer all your questions. Thank you for your attention and have a nice day.